Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Reference Point. I'm your host, Dave Cokerhook, and this evening my guest is Mr. Michael Patellis, who is the Vice President of Corporate Engagement at the Blind Institute of Technology, and this is going to be a really awesome conversation. Michael, thank you for joining me here today at Reference Point.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, the Blind Institute of Technology, I had never heard of the organization until you and I happened to cross paths through a mutual business contact. But tell us a little bit about the organization. What do you guys do? What's the purpose? Who are the Institute?
Sure. So we are a small but mighty team. We're a 501c nonprofit organization. And our mission is to decrease the severe unemployment and underemployment rate for people with disabilities. And we do that through recruitment, training, and placement of people with disabilities. And it's not just in any type of job, it's in meaningful jobs. So we, on average, we place people in jobs making an average of $72,000 a year with a clear path for growth. So we're really helping solve a problem and help people get the chance that sometimes they just never had in their life before.
Right, cool. Now, how did you get involved? What is your backstory?
So I'm 48 years old now, and prior to joining BIT about 18 months ago, I was in technology sales and business development for 25 years. But my story goes back to when I was 15 years old. And had perfect vision growing up, and everything was fine. And then when I was 15, I started to notice some deterioration in my vision in my left eye. And then a few months later, it transitioned to my right eye. And I went through it. The doctors had no idea what was going wrong or why I couldn't see. And, it got so bad that I couldn't read anymore. I had trouble getting around. And it was, had a big impact on my life, obviously, my parents. And at that time, the doctors were saying, well, we don't even see what's going on. There's nothing wrong. So they said it's probably mental. So I had to go to a psychologist for once a week for this guy to talk to me and try to figure out what's bothering me. And in the meantime, the only thing that was bothering me is, I couldn't play sports anymore. I couldn't play football, basketball, baseball, all these things I was used to doing. But finally, a year and a half in the process, they found I was had a rare disease of the optic nerve called Leber's hereditary neuropathy. And basically it causes not enough mitochondria to be produced in my optic nerve, and just kind of kicked in when I was 15.
Is there a precipitating cause for something like that or is it just sort of it might occur? It's a hereditary disease, as you said. Is it
Correct.
Something that it just might happen or it might not, or is there something in the environment or your actions that kicks it in?
Yeah, there is no known trigger, and it's every descendant of a mom. So, like I can't pass it on to my kids. My sister, her kids could have it if it kicks in. My particular family going back, we didn't find anything or anyone else that had this disorder until my cousin, he started losing his vision 4 years ago. But other than that, everyone else is fine.
Okay, well, cool. So how did you, I looked at your resume on LinkedIn, and yeah, you were talking about the various technology organizations that you've worked with and stuff like that. And it is interesting that you have a vision challenge, and yet you've been able to accomplish so much. What is unique? How did you manage to do that? What's the motivating factor that managed to help you overcome the prejudices that might be associated with bringing someone on board in a senior position that has a vision issue?
Sure. Yeah, no doubt. And, I think my vision loss has been probably one of my biggest keys to success, in that I'm able to really connect with people, like, and understand people for who they are, and not all the, professional environment. I'm trying to sell you this. It's when I have conversations with people, it's, we connect personally. And I think that's probably been one of the biggest keys to my success. I think personally, because I've been able to do it over and over again for multiple technologies, multiple channels, and it's my ability to really connect and establish relationships with people. And ultimately, when you're in sales or business development, that's probably the most important thing that you can do.
Right. So the Institute works with a lot of individuals who you are, as you indicated, you're looking to try to help them find gainful employment in environments like technology environments, similar to what you've done. How are those, I'll call them students that come to BIT to learn about opportunities? It seems to me, and I could be way wrong, but it would seem that that kind of presence of mind that you have and that ability to push through the challenge so that you can develop those relationships, is that a common factor amongst your students, or do they have to be made aware that it's possible?
It is a challenge for a lot of people. I was fortunate to have the influence and support of my family and my friends. But it is a challenge for a lot of people with disabilities, depending on where they are in their life and what their particular circumstances are. And, if you start getting into it and you have no one that'll give you a chance, then it gets really demoralizing. And that's one of the things that we do is, not only do we train the candidates with disabilities, but then also on the corporate side, we're simultaneously training the corporations as well to make them aware about what the capabilities are of people with disabilities if they're given the proper chance in the proper environment.
Got it. You use the broad term disabilities. Does BIT work with individuals who might have hearing impairment or mobility impairment as well as vision impairment?
Yes. Yeah. Obviously, we started in 2013, and our executive director and founder, Mike Hess, he was blind, or he still is blind, and he started BIT in 2013. With that in mind, now we help people with any type of disabilities. And for example, we have a relationship with Salesforce, and we do 16-week courses. One of our recent Salesforce courses that we had to teach people with disabilities, we had 2 completely deaf people being taught by a completely blind person.
Oh, wow.
So we have now, expanded to help people with any type of disability, whether it be, cognitive, physical, or anything like that.
That's awesome. So let me ask you this. You talked about Salesforce. Now, from that perspective, is it in terms of teaching the individual how to utilize and implement Salesforce in a corporate environment? Because they say that every company is becoming a software company, so you're going to be using tools. So you're not necessarily saying you might find a place at Salesforce, but it's like now that you know how to use the spectrum of capabilities that this tool has, you can get a job at wherever,
Yes.
utility company down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Salesforce has created, it's the #1 CRM platform used by almost every major company, and it's created a wonderful ecosystem, and also it's extremely accessible.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is the people that come through the BIT Academy, we teach them how to become a Salesforce administrator or a Salesforce developer. For example, on average, at any given time on LinkedIn, there are over 9,000 job openings for a Salesforce administrator. And those jobs range anywhere from a salary of $60,000 all the way up to $200,000, depending on the, obviously, the experience level.
Right.
So basically what we do is we work with someone who's typically unemployed or underemployed, and they go through our 16-week course, which is completely free.
Oh, wow.
And we teach them how to pass the Salesforce administrator exam. And after they do that, then we also guarantee that at a minimum, they get a paid internship. But our ultimate goal is full-time placement.
That's fantastic. Now, I mean, I spent a lot of years in the software business myself, 20 plus, almost 30. And, you've got other major players globally like SAP, you got Microsoft, and there's just like, lots of other major corporate software organizations that have a similar kind of a scenario for a different kind of product. Salesforce is CRM and marketing, etc. But you take SAP, they've got production management and all sorts of other stuff. So, are you guys looking at developing similar relationships with other of these type of organizations?
Yep. We are actually in about 3 weeks. We're going to open up enrollment for our first Cisco class, focused around cyber security. So that'll start in January.
Nice.
And you mentioned Microsoft. We're working with them as well, just finalizing the details of the type of curriculum we will come up with for Microsoft. And we're also in early discussions with companies like VMware and Snowflake as well. Because all these companies, they realize that, especially now with such a shortage of talent, and, we could really help them fill those gaps. And so, yeah, tons of opportunity out there. And I think the biggest thing that holds us back is, we're a very small team of 9 people.
Right.
And it's just a matter of helping us get more exposure out there.
So, is it much of a struggle to get whoever you have to communicate with at the corporation, Salesforce, SAP, wherever, to see the vision, if I can use that term, to grasp the concept and get behind it? How much of a challenge is that?
It's interesting because it is challenging. And this is probably the most challenging job I've had. I've been here for 18 months. And my main role is to kick open the doors in corporate America and have them embrace people with disabilities. Especially now that a lot of companies almost every major company has somebody in charge of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Right.
And just about 6 months ago, I was on the phone with one of the largest companies in the world, and their DEI expert, and I was talking to him. He's like, well, right now we're only focusing on X, Y, and Z, and not really people with disabilities. And that's very common to what I hear right now. That still people don't understand, number one, the capabilities of people with disabilities, the value that they can bring to an organization. And it is a harder process, but right now it's still very much a difficult process to get people to understand the value of hiring people with disabilities and what their capabilities truly are.
Right. It seems, technology has come a long way in the last 30 years, really. And so I'm guessing that it is, there are systems and equipment that make it much more, how do I want to say this, that empower a disabled individual to do things that they couldn't necessarily have done 20 or 30 years ago, if you're vision impaired or hearing impaired and whatnot. So how do the personnel at a company where you've brought somebody on board, how embracive and receptive are they to this whole opportunity? I mean, to me, this whole thing is absolutely phenomenal and should be celebrated, and everybody ought to kick open their doors because everybody's griping about how it's so hard to find qualified people to do a job. And yet the opportunity here on both sides of the equation seems huge. So what's the receptivity down at the frontline level?
It's receptive, but it's still cautiously guarded in that, they still don't understand the majority of corporations, how it could actually be done and what the capabilities are. One of the things that we do also of course, obviously we do recruiting and training, but then on the corporate side, also what we do is empowerment and awareness training to, truly give companies the understanding of what the capabilities people with disabilities have when given the right opportunity and the proper tools. So, for example, in one of our training presentations, we have one of our Salesforce administrators. She's blind, and she's programming the Salesforce interface, and she's using a screen reader, so she can't even see the interface or anything like that. She can't see what she's doing, but she's able to design a user interface in Salesforce, and without even being able to see it. And in part of the demo, you can hear her listening. She's listening at regular speed that someone else would listen to, and everybody's like, "Wow, that's amazing that she could really do that. That's cool." And then the next slide, what she does is she listens to it at the speed that she really listens to it as, and that's 350 words per minute. So when you hear that, you're like, "Oh my God, I can't even understand that." It's like, it's so fast. Literally, I can't even understand it. I listen to my computer fast, and my kids are like, "What? I don't understand what you're even listening to." But these people who are proficient in some of these accessibility tools, it is amazing. They can listen to 350 words per minute. The average human reads about 150 to 200 words per minute. So, there's something you could say is actually an advantage, that they could read twice as fast.
That's amazing. I'm going to divert just briefly here and let the audience know that what we're talking about here is extremely interesting. We're talking about being able to help people with all kinds of disabilities. Michael even mentioned everything from vision, hearing, cognitive, mobility, and whatever. If you have any questions about this, or you want to know more information, send those questions into info@referencepointtv.com. I'll get the information to Michael. We'll get a response to you. Go up to their website. I'm sure you've had a chance, folks, to see the website for the organization. Check this out, because this could be a game changer in a lot of different ways. So, cool. So let's, are there other entities similar to BIT that focus on services for, the hearing impaired, or, the mobility impaired, or the that you guys collaborate with?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's especially organizations focused on, like you mentioned, people with other disabilities, and there's a lot of other blindness organizations as well. And there's for example, we have a great partnership with the Treasure House. That's a place that Kurt Warner and his wife had started, and it's an independent living community for people with disabilities. And they do a great job as far as helping the residents there and independent living and having a great life. And what we do is we partner with them, take it a step further to also help them with employment as well. So we partner with anybody we can find in our ecosystem that is involved with people with disabilities, and that share the same goal of basically improving the lives of people with disabilities and giving them the opportunity to have the true independence that they truly can do if given the opportunity.
Very cool. So if someone has someone in their life that has a challenge, what's the best way for them to reach out to, whether it's your organization or some of these other entities that might be, I mean, you guys are located in Georgia, but you do a lot of your stuff, I'm sure, online, right, digitally?
Yeah, well, our headquarters are in Denver, and so I'm the one in Georgia, but we actually, our team is spread out all throughout the U.S., and we also have a team actually in Europe as well, and we've helped people all around the world. So, it's the greatest thing now with, one of the positive things that came out with COVID is that, people understand remote working now and what can really happen with that. So, we've helped people around the world. So it's definitely not regional. And, that's our whole motto is, with technology, we can make things happen.
That's very cool.
So,
Tell me a little bit more
yeah.
about the international reach that you guys have, because that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So we've even placed candidates in Australia. This past fall, or actually summer, I guess, summer class, we did our first Salesforce class that was based out of the UK. The entire class was, but we all did that here based in the US. My team members of the BIT Academy. And it literally is. We've had some exposure in Africa as well.
Oh, wow.
It really doesn't matter where someone is, and ultimately we're looking for somebody that has the drive, and if they have the drive and willingness, then we're going to help them.
So how does a student become a student? I mean, is there a qualification process that one has to go through?
Yeah, we do have a vetting process, not a vetting process, but yeah, we do interview everybody and make sure that their goals are in line with they want to be part in the corporate world, and not just technology, but we place anybody from entry level all the way up to the executive level.
Mm-hmm.
So most importantly is we want to see that an individual has that drive, and they really want to make things happen. And then from there, we'll work with them on defining, number one, what their objectives are. Obviously everybody doesn't want to be a Salesforce administrator or
Sure.
a programmer or anything like that. So first thing we do is we interview all of our candidates, and we ask them what's important to them and what is their dream job. That's my favorite question to them. What's your dream job? And we work from there and say, okay, well, let's see how we can make this happen.
Cool. So to what degree do you find that some of your some percentage of your students have an entrepreneurial bent, that are actually looking to do their own thing, start their own company or something like that? Is that you seeing much of that in the group?
Sometimes, yeah, because it's that's a very natural transition, and it's like, okay, what am I going to do? I got this, so I might as well find something to do myself or start my own business. Growing up, okay, so I don't see well, so I'm always thinking about what could I do? What kind of business opportunity can I turn this into? So yeah, there's always the entrepreneurial angle of it, and we do see that sometimes with a lot of our candidates. And if that's the route, then by all means, we're going to help them and guide them through that process.
That's cool. So how many different languages can you guys help people in? How's that for a wild question?
Well, with technology, any of them. I
Really?
mean, anything can be, translated.
That's true.
So yeah, we definitely wouldn't let that stop us. That's probably one of the easiest hurdles.
Are your courses or the interactions that you're assisting the student with, is it a combination of live and pre-recorded webinar and that sort of thing? So you've got a lot of different variables that you can bring to the table to help the person learn. And so it doesn't have to necessarily be a live one-on-one kind of interaction. Is that correct?
Yeah. Basically, it's a 16-week independent study class, and twice a week there is a virtual classroom environment where everyone's together virtually, and it's not required, but obviously it'd be helpful to the students and everyone else to partake in it. But it's pretty much like I said, an independent study, but also we are here for our students for one-on-one time, any questions or anything like that, because our goal is to obviously help them succeed.
Right. Michael, you mentioned at one point that the course is free to the student. So how do you guys fund what it is that you're going to do? Because obviously there has to be some capital flowing to be able to deliver. So what are the resources that you look for?
Yeah, absolutely. So on average, it costs us about $5,400 is what we've calculated for us to take each candidate through our process. So a couple ways that we generate money and funds. When we place them, we have agreements in place with the corporations that hire our candidates. So we get a finder's fee of 15% of the annual salary.
That's just like a headhunter would. Just like a headhunter would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still significantly discounted from what the typical rate is. And then we also have corporate donations, individual donors that support our organization. So, for example, Mark Cuban is our largest individual contributor.
Oh, wonderful.
Our supporter that we have. So, it's people like that that really believe in what we do, and we're able to prove it, and that's why we continue to grow.
So what can the folks who might be seeing Reference Point do to, contribute to the motion? How can they help?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, if somebody's looking to hire somebody, then I definitely encourage them to contact us. And of course, if they're looking to make donations, then you can always make donations on our website. But also if they're interested in training as well, we give the empowerment training and awareness training, and typically that's done for free. That we want to just get the word out there of what people with disabilities really can do if given the proper opportunity. And one of the things that I've experienced quite a bit is nobody does it intentionally, and but it's if you personally have never interacted with somebody with a disability, either personally or professionally, you just simply don't know what the capabilities are.
Yeah, you don't know what they can do, and you don't really know how to deal with you don't know what you can do either. In your interactions with them, how to support them. Well, Michael, we've reached a point where we are at a minute left in our show, and this has been wonderful. You've answered just about every question that I had, so thank you for that. I'm very excited about what you can do, and I'm hopeful that in some small way that I can help contribute to the motion. And ladies and gentlemen who are watching this show, think about this. If you've got a company, reach out to Michael and his team. There may be an opportunity for someone that you could bring on your team. The Bay Area has got millions of people, and I'm sure that there's a certain percentage here who could assist you, who have, whether it's a vision or a hearing or mobility disability, they're going to be able to be a great employee for you. So in the last few seconds, Michael, is there anything else you want to say to people? You got about 10 seconds.
No, I appreciate your time, and like you said, if you have the opportunity, please reach out and give somebody a chance. You'll be pleased.
Fantastic. So thank you so much for joining us today here at Reference Point. And ladies and gentlemen, take this to heart, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.